The story of today's video begins with Erik Prince. He was born and raised in a normal family in Michigan, USA. Erik earned his diploma, then went to university, getting a bachelor's degree in economics. Early in his career and after graduation, Erik felt somewhat lost. He didn't want to use his economics degree for a job in accounting or similar fields. So he decided to attend firefighting classes, hoping to become a good firefighter. However, he didn't excel as a firefighter. Instead, he became a skilled emergency medical technician (EMT). These are essentially the emergency nurses of the fire department, and their work is crucial. Just as he was about to start his EMT career with the fire department, he grew bored again. He questioned the path he had chosen. Consequently, Erik enlisted in the USA Navy. He joined the Navy SEALs, a special unit known for having the best commandos. Everyone who knew Erik was astonished when he joined the Navy SEALs. Joining this elite team is incredibly difficult. The SEALs undertake challenging and dangerous missions, but getting into the group itself is considered harder than any mission. In fact, more people have died trying to join the SEALs than in their actual missions. To be accepted, one must demonstrate a willingness to die rather than be defeated. Erik successfully joined the SEALs. Around this time, the Yugoslav War began, a conflict known for war crimes. Erik was deployed to Yugoslavia by his special unit for several missions. While involved in conflicts in Yugoslavia, Erik had a sudden idea. He thought, America is a capitalist country. Why shouldn't commando training and deployment be privatized? He fully developed this concept in his mind. A few weeks later, his mission ended, and he returned to the USA. Back in America, Erik discussed his idea with his friend Al Clark. Clark agreed it was an excellent concept. Together, they established a security company, naming it Blackwater. Interestingly, while Erik was growing up, attending university, and serving in the military, his close relatives also started a business. They became very wealthy by importing and selling auto parts from China. Erik approached his wealthy relatives, asking for a loan to fund his new business idea. He requested $6.5 million from them and promised to repay the loan within a few years. With this capital, he first purchased a 2,400-hectare plot of land. It was located in the middle of a swamp in North Carolina. This land was incredibly cheap because many areas were unsafe, with people sinking into the swamp. However, Erik recognized that this type of terrain was ideal for commando training. He then started constructing commando training facilities on this land. These replicated the intense training he experienced in his special unit. Furthermore, a large section of the land was dedicated to shooting practice with various weapons. The area was so vast that snipers could practice targeting objects kilometers away. Once the Blackwater facilities were complete and announced, their business boomed. The shooting range was particularly popular. Such a facility, allowing sniper training over several kilometers, was rare in the USA. Many people weren't interested in training for war. However, they enjoyed the opportunity to use such a large range and target distances of several kilometers. They would pay to use the facility. This shooting range constituted Blackwater's primary income in its early years. Hard as it may be to believe, This single range generated approximately $400,000 annually for them. Erik used these earnings to repay his family loan. Then came 2001, and a major event occurred in America and globally, September 11th. We all know about the planes hitting buildings and their collapse. This incident, surrounded by countless theories, reinvigorated warmongering politicians in the West. In both the US and Europe, these politicians gained significant power. That same year, the decision was made to invade Afghanistan. The CIA needed commandos for this war. Unwilling to deploy regular infantry, they approached Blackwater, knowing the company had connections with many US commandos, particularly retired personnel. Consequently, the CIA contracted Blackwater for a substantial sum of money. Blackwater agreed to send commandos for combat and to secure secret CIA bases in Afghanistan. The US Army did not provide this kind of direct support for CIA forces, despite being from the same country. As the war in Afghanistan began, Erik Prince started making a lot of money. He was deploying forces in exchange for substantial payments. These contracts and funds quickly transformed Blackwater into a formidable entity. By 2003, the US invasion of Iraq began, and Blackwater once again found itself in a very profitable position, this time in Iraq. Iraq was swiftly defeated, and the country came under American control. However, this didn't mean peace across the board. While key cities were secured, the rest of the country faced ongoing civil war. Even worse, terrorist groups were emerging everywhere. Saddam Hussein was defeated in just 21 days. Yet, the war itself did not end, and it seemed unlikely to conclude anytime soon. The conflict in Iraq persisted, and the population suffered increasingly. Groups were fighting each other in every region. Amidst this chaos, Blackwater thrived. They executed every mission from the CIA precisely and meticulously, receiving immense payments. For instance, during the Iraq War, Blackwater reportedly paid each commando $1,200 per day. This was an exceptionally high income in 2003. However, it was also a very high-risk job, as they frequently suffered casualties. In war, lives are not easily spared. A bullet can strike anyone at any moment. It's important to note that after the US captured Baghdad, they appointed a civilian administrator, Paul Bremer. He effectively became the interim head of Iraq. Upon his arrival, Bremer's life was in extreme danger, with many wanting him dead. So the Pentagon turned to Blackwater, requesting commandos for Bremer's protection. Blackwater agreed, stating they could provide the desired protection. A contract was signed with the Pentagon for $21.5 million to protect Paul Bremer for 1 year. Each commando serving as Bremer's bodyguard received $18,000 per month, equivalent to nearly $30,000 today. Crucially, these commandos had absolute authority. If they suspected someone, they could arrest them, detain them for months in their own prisons, and, if deemed necessary, torture or even kill them. Essentially, they operated without oversight from traditional law. Blackwater successfully provided Bremer's security for the contracted year. This operation became significant publicity for them, establishing their reputation as excellent protectors and attracting more contracts. Consequently, Blackwater became globally renowned. Their logo could be seen everywhere, particularly in Iraq, where opinions of them were sharply divided. In essence, Blackwater evolved into a company that could be hired to fight and provide protection, defend, and many even accuse them of committing crimes. Most Americans viewed Blackwater as a criminal organization. They were seen as easily killing ordinary people, and due to their power and lack of legal oversight, being accountable to no one. A notable example in Iraq was the Nisour Square massacre, where 17 people were gunned down with machine guns. Consequently, Blackwater's name became notorious globally. This negative reputation led government agencies like the Pentagon and CIA to distance themselves. They did not want Blackwater's infamy to impact their own standing, particularly within American society. From this point, Blackwater began to decline as they stopped receiving new contracts. Erik Prince was forced to resign and step down, hoping this might help save the company. The company was compelled to change its name from Blackwater to Zek Services. Erik Prince seized the opportunity, realizing it was time to sell Blackwater. Interestingly, the company was purchased from him within a few days. The sale price remains unknown. However, Erik Prince recently disclosed that their daily expenses were $250,000 for legal defense due to numerous domestic and international lawsuits against them. In 2011, after selling his company and receiving the funds, Erik Prince moved with his family to Abu Dhabi, where he still resides. Essentially the first private military company, PMC, to gain widespread fame. Ironically, this very fame ultimately contributed to its downfall. Today, however, numerous such private armed forces companies exist globally. Examples include Triple Canopy in the US and Russia's globally renowned Wagner Group. In summary, this was the story of Erik Prince and his company, Blackwater. These types of companies essentially profit from war. For this reason, they are often labeled warmongers, with concerns that significant financial resources could allow them to instigate conflicts worldwide.